Hello, my fellow nerds, and welcome to the Nerd Empire. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today, and I hope you all will enjoy today's reaction video. With that being said, let's get right into it, shall we? Next video here is from Sydney Watson. It's called Woke Fatigue. I think we're all pretty fatigued with the entire woke thing that's been going on the past like 10 so years. So, let's see what Sydney has to say in her video about woke fatigue.
America, please get me out of this place. I'm tired. I'm losing my tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't want to be a politician. I hate them.
I don't want to hear another white person say the word illegal for the rest of my goddamn life. We are living on stolen land.
All you know how to do is spew your vile, hateful, racist, lying rhetoric.
Like many of you, I am genuinely exhausted.
I think those people kind of need help. Maybe some therapy.
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Fume. Also, children, I am going on tour in October, doing 9 cities around the United States. I would love for you to come and see me. Tickets will be linked in the description box, and for a limited time, for you early people, you can use the code GONDOLA to get 20% off when you check out. See you there. It's gonna be cool. So I have wanted to make this video for quite a while now, but like similar ones that I've done recently, what has stopped me is the fact that there are 9 billion examples that I could choose from to illustrate my point, and that gets a little overwhelming. But in the wake of the insane meltdowns around Sydney Sweeney and Billie Eilish, and all of the commentary around eugenics and Nazism and white supremacy and the general screaming that we've seen on TikTok, I thought it was time to take a run at this topic.
You guys are complaining about that Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, so I went and saw it. That's Nazi propaganda. Wow.
I love how people take this giant leap of logic into the chasm of stupidity with no way of saving themselves, with no rope, no bungee rope for them to come back to on. Nope, it's just one leap in and done. Where is the... I don't understand the logic behind of what they... of that... I saw the ad, and I don't understand the people's, train of thought, the way they think. How is any of that Nazi propaganda? How is any of that in any way, shape, or form Nazism or anything about eugenics? I don't get their leap of logic. I don't. And yet somehow they come to it. It's amazing how the brain of the stupid, the brains of the stupid people, function. Like, how do they go throughout their daily life being that fucking dumb?
We should have known Sydney Sweeney was a Republican because she's tacky as
This is what we mean when we say white people and their biases just be jumping out. Because what type of racist shit is that? I don't want to hear now about, well, black people say it wouldn't have been a problem. Anti-blackness has been a global issue since forever.
Because at this stage, I think that all of us have a little bit of woke fatigue. As with a bunch of other social movements recently too, I think that a huge portion of people have genuinely hit their saturation point. It's me. I'm people. For years, we have been lectured by purple-haired, septum-pierced they-thems.
Dear Mr. President of fear and division, you're not fit to lead. You belong in a prison.
We have been name-called.
White trash.
Whose judge are you? Are you our judge?
Absolutely, bitch.
You are?
You.
Shamed.
A toddler was suspended from a nursery after they were accused of being transphobic or homophobic.
And it...
How is a toddler supposed to understand what any of those words mean? Hell, some of some of the adults nowadays can't really remember what those words actually mean anymore because they use it for fucking everything and against people who just basically disagree with their viewpoint. It has lost its meaning. It has lost the gravity behind it.
Attacked for having a difference of opinion.
Why are you voting for him?
Because I believe he is the moral candidate.
Oh my God. You for that one.
Some people have been fired and shunned and socially ostracized or attacked on the internet because they rejected some part of this weird mass delusion that's been going on. They didn't use the right pronoun or they culturally appropriated something. And so I think the word
Well, yeah, you're a woman. Ma'am is a perfectly reasonable thing to call somebody that is a woman. Because it is also the polite thing to call them.
fatigue is just so accurate in describing this crippling exhaustion that so many of us are feeling towards the current social climate. Exhaustion with the relentless militant pressure to conform to a very, very narrow set of social justice values, where every word and every action and even silence is scrutinized for its correctness. It's burnout from a good few decades of being pressured and lectured into caring about all issues all of the time, all at once. Everything everywhere has been hyper-politicized, and for years there has been absolutely no reprieve. Until recently, where apparently we all stopped giving a crap at the exact same time and now just sit back and laugh as these people do insane things and remove themselves from the gene pool. I realize there are a few different ways that you can interpret that last sentence, but I'm referring to the fact that they're just not having kids. But I will let you pick the...
Yeah, because these people really, really, and I mean really, should not be procreating with anybody. We don't need their toxicity, their vile way of thinking, their stupidity. We don't need them creating more people.
Interpretation that you like best. So this is what I want to talk about today. Woke fatigue, woke exhaustion, how we got here, how it was accelerated, and really just remind you all of some of the things that you have probably forgotten over the years that were absolutely, completely insane. But before we do that, obviously all of my regular disclaimers, this video is by no means exhaustive. I'm not going to get to and list everything. There's way too much. And actually, when I was planning this video, I jumped on a call with a girlfriend of mine, and together we were just listing out and going through all the things that we could think of associated with this topic, and putting those in this video. I maybe got to a third of our list. It was that long. But I've done my best to give you all of the lists.
So far, for me personally, I think the only people I can really talk to that have, you know, logically that and stay within reality are probably my brother and my dad, because they at least understand that a lot of the shit that's going on is fucking fantasy and lunacy. It's so fucking horrible. And as for like political correctness and being and saying things a different way, fuck that. I don't care if people find what I say offensive or anything. It's the human language. Somebody, somewhere, is going to find what I say offensive no matter what. You don't want to be offended? Unlearn the human language. You don't like what I say? Don't watch me. I don't fucking care. If I offend you, that's not my problem. That's your own problem. I will not change what I say just because somebody doesn't like it. If you don't like hearing logic, truth, and stuff that's grounded in reality, go back to listening to woke bullshit. Because they seem to love catering to people's feelings and living in a fantasy, stupid world.
national treasures. So, my little Hell Gondola dwellers, before you once again board my Hell Gondola, and together we revisit some stuff that we probably would rather forget, let's hear from today's sponsor, Fume. Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. I was just telling my friends that are off camera how much I love breathing air. And one day, as I was enjoying a refreshing breathing sesh, as one does, I got to thinking, what if the air I breathed tasted like mangoes? Nay, I said. One cannot breathe in mango air lest one inhale toxic chemicals along with it. But verily, I discovered one can. With Fume. Fume is a flavored air device that doesn't just give your air a bit of a zip, it's also a way to move away from those pesky bad habits that make your wallet light and your clothes smell like you just left a bar in the 1980s. And more importantly, it's non-addictive, there's no nicotine, no icky chemicals, no vapor. The thing keeping you coming back to it will be its excellently crafted flavors and fun little fidgety device that keeps the simple monkey part of my brain entertained while I do human brain thinky tasks. Now, you might be asking, is Fume just another fancy pants vape? No, my sweet summer children. Fume ain't about that life. It wants you to be satisfied, healthy, and more importantly, able to breathe without making funny noises. And because our friends at Fume are so good at what they do, they've expanded their range to include this little magnetic base and even these cute little mouthpiece toppers. So if you are ready to say goodbye to your bad habit, then click the link in the description, scan the QR code on screen, or go to tryfume.com/Sydney. And don't forget to use code Sydney to get your free Fume topper when you order a journey pack. It might feel like wokeness and political correctness is relatively new, but that's actually not the case at all. In the 80s and 90s, political correctness in America was sort of in its first wave. At the time, the term was a way to both describe and criticize progressive efforts to curb the use of offensive language and behavior, particularly on university campuses where, during this time, policies were being enacted to block expression of certain opinions. In 1990, the New York Times published an article titled "The Rising Hegemony of the Politically Correct," where the author wrote that on college campuses there was a breeding ground.
I believe everything probably started to go downhill when they started, excuse me, had a bubble in my throat. When political correctness started coming about, I think that's when shit started to go downhill. It's like, why should we care if somebody gets offended by what we say? Why should you care? Does it affect how they live their life? No. Does it affect how they go about their daily life? No. Does it affect how they eat, sleep, drink, or breathe? No. Does it affect any aspect in any way, shape, or form of their life? No. Then why the fuck should we care about being politically correct? Like I said before, if you speak the human language, somebody somewhere on this planet is going to be offended no matter what you say. So why the fuck should you care? I don't care to be politically correct. I don't. I never will be, because that's just who I am. I will say things up front, whether it offends you or not, because I'd rather a person hear what I have to say without having to give you the runaround or be politically correct or just be stupid about it. If someone, like I said before, if somebody doesn't like what I say, well, then that's not my problem.
For a regimented leftist ideology that promoted intolerance, closed debate, and pressured others to conform to a radical program or risk being accused of a commonly reiterated trio of thought crimes: sexism, racism, and homophobia. It's it's been 30 years and nothing really has changed. Around this time, Newsweek also published something similar, with its cover image being big bold letters spelling out Thought Police. In the same year, comedian George Carlin did a series of bits mocking PC language, soft language as he called it, like trading the word handicapped for differently abled, or...
I swear to God, George Carlin, if he was alive today, he would have had a fucking field day. Just with the shit that's been going on in the past 10 years alone, he would have had enough material for probably like 20 specials. Because of the dumb bullshit that's been going on.
The word shell shock with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Americans have trouble facing the truth, so they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse. And of course came the war in Vietnam, which has only been over for about 16 or 17 years. And thanks to the lies and deceit surrounding that war, I guess it's no surprise that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And the pain is completely buried under jargon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll bet you if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time.
All that language policing that we've come to know and love, it was really getting started here. But at least comedy was still legal, so, you know, little wins. By the early 2000s, the term PC had become an insult. It was a pejorative, with many arguing that political correctness generally was being used to suppress free speech, but also to suppress differing opinions. Its supporters, on the other hand, said that it was a way to promote tolerance and inclusivity, and that, importantly, nobody had the right to offend without consequences. I am not making that up. That is a direct quote that I found in an article said by a progressive, that nobody has the right to offend without consequences.
Again, you don't want to get offended? Try to unlearn the human language. There shouldn't be consequences for what a person says, because words have literally no effect on how somebody goes about their daily life. If somebody calls you a name, oh no, they called you a name. Ignore them. Go about your life. Words have about as much power as what you give them. That's how words work. If you don't want to have them, if you don't want the words to have any power, don't give them any power.
Chat, are we screwed? We are so screwed. I mean, with all of this in mind, you can completely see how we ended up where we are today. Suffering, and being dictated to by people who think that sex is not an immutable characteristic.
Trans women can be biologically female.
No, they can't. No, they can't. Here in reality, in logic, in science and biology, trans women are biological men. Plain and simple. We do not have the technology or the means to absolutely transition from somebody from one gender to the other. We don't. We don't have the technology to do that. It is virtually, technologically, and biologically impossible for us to do. Now, maybe hundreds of years in the future, we may be able to do that. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But for right now, it is impossible. We cannot genetically change somebody to the opposite sex. We just can't. You can change as much as you want, but you can't. It is biologically and scientifically impossible. We just can't do it. So, yeah, it's just, and you know, you can live in your fantastical delusion all you want. Go right ahead. If that's what makes you happy, if that's what makes you feel good, then fine, go ahead and do that. Don't try and force the entire world around you to conform to your worldview because it makes you feel good. We live in reality. We're not going to live in your fantasy world.
After the September 11 attacks, debates over political correctness intensified. Media outlets avoided terms like Islamic terrorism as not to offend Muslims. Conservatives argued that this
Even Muslims knew it was Islamic terrorism.
obfuscated the issue, while progressives argued that this language fueled xenophobia. Words like illegal alien were traded for undocumented migrant. Words like spaz or spastic were deemed offensive, and calling things gay was no longer socially acceptable, much to the chagrin of all of us millennials. Universities and workplaces
That's gay.
increasingly adopted diversity training and speech guidelines. The rise of social media platforms like MySpace and Facebook in the early 2000s
Oh God, MySpace.
began amplifying public discussions and giving activists tools to call out offensive behavior. Soon Reddit and Tumblr followed, and activist communities really started to flourish online. By the way, when I use this voice, this is my quotation voice because you can't see me doing the quotation marks. Just wanted to clear that up. I think I've said this before, but I think a lot of this largely could have been avoided if we just stopped the people on Reddit and Tumblr from ever having access to the internet. Or conversely, made them stay on their side.
Look, everybody has the right to free speech. Everybody has the right to voice their opinion, but there are some people who just really shouldn't. Because it's nothing, because everything they end up saying is coming from somebody who thought it was a good idea to sandpaper out all their wrinkles of the brain. So everything they say is coming from somebody who sound like has the IQ of a fucking toddler. So yeah, there are just some people who really shouldn't be having an opinion at all, even though they have the right to.
Of the internet, done a little bit of web segregation. So by the beginning of the 2010s, two very distinct camps had emerged. Those who believed that political correctness was a moral necessity, and those who viewed it as a form of censorship and
Political correctness is not a moral necessity. It is not a necessity at all. Honestly, I think political correctness should just go ahead and die and never return.
another form of social control. And then, like, basically all of these movements, everything went to hell. And it was probably here that the foundation of the coming fatigue started for the majority of us. You know, considering a lot of us were children up until this point, and I distinctly remember running around the playground saying that everything was gay. You know, us Aussie kids grew up during this period of time, and we had fads that were a cigarette lolly, as you do.
Oh, I ran into those here in Minnesota. We have something called the Yellow Barn. It's the largest candy store in the state, and they sell what I thought was just really funny, and they're just basically candy cigarettes. I saw this and it was like, they really made something like this and sold it to kids. Huh. They're not really that good though. They're just 4 or 5 out of 10. They're okay. They're just not that great. It's basically, it looks like a chalk stick, but one side of it, part of it is colored like a cigarette butt, and the rest is white. They could have made it taste better.
Actually, speaking of lollies, we used to be able to get these things called yogurt buds, which were like little buds of yogurt, and I miss them so much, and I have not been able to find them anywhere. Someone find me yogurt buds, please. By 2014, the term woke, which had been used mainly by...
How woke went from a social justice term to a pejorative favored by some conservatives. There's another thing, social justice. That should have never come about. That just needs to completely die and stay buried under 6 feet of concrete.
Black Americans to refer to awareness around racial issues had been repurposed to describe a hyper-vigilant social justice mindset. Around this time, too, we also had the term SJW, or social justice warrior, and you all know what that is. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was never really a massive fan of the term social justice warrior, given that the vast majority of these people, if they're fighting anything, it's their own mental illness. You know, I think calling them warriors is a form of internet stolen value.
I think it's insulting to warriors.
You know, like like this
you know, actual warriors who fought for something meaningful.
is why they think they're soldiers of the progressive left. Except, like, all it takes to defeat them is asking the last time their dad hugged them. Anyway, so
The best way to defeat them is to defeat them with logic, because they can't seem to handle logic. Or, you know, can't handle really much at all.
social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram turbocharge this shift, making activism instantaneous and public.
Instagram. I think that thing mainly just gave easy access for people to be a fucking slut on the internet. It's basically like the early stages of OnlyFans.
Allowing terms like privilege, microaggressions, and cultural appropriation to spread.
We can now say microaggressions. Now what?
Here's some other examples of microaggressions.
I guess I'm still learning how to deal with microaggressions.
The majority of the microaggressions that I've experienced in my life are related to being half Japanese.
Hashtags made issues viral, but they also created pressure to publicly align with progressive causes. In the wake of the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and the rise of BLM, social media exploded with calls to check your privilege or call out racism. Non-participation, such as not tweeting #BLM, was...
The BLM thing is... It's hypocritical. It's fucking hypocritical. It's just a giant fucking hypocrite. That's what it is.
seen as complicity and a sign-off on police brutality.
So back when George Floyd was killed, I remember I reposted the famous quote by Desmond Tutu that says, if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you're siding with the oppressor.
Making this video reminded me about all of the cops who were kneeling during the BLM protests, and all the white people who were doing those struggle sessions, basically, where they were washing black people's feet or gathering in circles to, like, apologize to them. Do you guys remember this stuff?
This is fucking stupid. Oh my god. This is so goddamn dumb. Oh, there's no logical reason to do this.
But more importantly, what the mid-2010s brought about the rise
to SLGBTQI. Oh, Jesus Christ. I thought it was getting even more ridiculous as soon as they started adding numbers into it. It's like you already got the entire fucking alphabet. Now you're adding numbers into this goddamn thing. It's the LGBT. That's it. Actually, all you need is the GBT. Because lesbian is just another version of gay. It's just gay. It's all gay. Gay, bi, trans. That's all there is. Oh, I'm pansexual. No, you're just bi. Anything, I'll say this. Any sexuality that says that the sex of the person does not matter, they would still date either a man or a woman. So sex doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which sex they are. It's all bisexual. It's just a subcategory of bisexual. I am sick and tired of hearing, I'm pansexual. No, you're bisexual. It's just a subcategory of it. So it's so fucking goddamn. It's goddamn dumb. It's goddamn dumb.
Of the trans movement, gender ideology as we know it today, fat acceptance, and the massive crazy expansion.
This is another thing. Non-binary doesn't fucking exist. If it did exist, there would only be one person in the entire history of humanity, and they would have died. Because they would have had no way to reproduce. So non-binary doesn't exist. It only exists in fantasy.
of the LGBTQIA XYZ community, all
Non-gender
of which brought about their own set of rules.
I don't feel accepted for being LGBTQ plus in my school. This is another thing. This shit needs to stay the ever living fuck away from kids. Just if people want to learn about it, if you want to put it in any sort of educational facility, do it in college. Keep it out of kindergarten, keep it out of elementary school, keep it out of middle school, keep it out of high schools, or for, England, graduate and primary or whatever they call it over there. Just keep it away from kids. Anywhere from K through 12. Just keep it away from them. This shit doesn't need to be around them. And any teachers who try and teach this sort of stuff other than what they are paid to teach should either, one, get a warning and say, if you do this shit again, you're going to get fired. And if they keep doing it, fire them. History teacher trying to teach this sort of stuff to kids? No, you're paid to teach history. So teach history. Same with science, math, English, civics, careers, any sort of that stuff. Whatever subject you are hired to teach that subject. Keep this shit out.
And regulations around language, self-ID, and their own activist classes, which I have talked about in other dedicated videos to those topics at length, so I'm not going to rehash that here, but just know that through all of this, all of that was happening, and with the pronouns and the transing of the kids and the people identifying as...
That's another thing. Any doctor who goes ahead with any sort of medical treatment for a trans kid should lose their their medical license. If they are not 18 or older, that sort of stuff should not be anywhere near kids, especially the medical shit.
Toaster strudels.
What the fuck is this? You know what? The sad thing is, I know this sort of fetish is an actual thing. I know this is an actual fetish. That's the disturbing thing, is that I know for a fact that this sort of thing is an actual fetish. And it's still fucking weird. But I don't kink shame, fetish shame, or whatever it is. If it's something that gets your rocks off, go right ahead and do it. I find it weird, but you know what? You do you.
But those videos are dedicated and they're in depth, so I will link them in the description box if you are interested in the timeline of how we all got over the LGBT movement and the trans movement. Anyway, wokeness soon became the cultural expectation, with terms like toxic masculinity and white privilege and white fragility making their way into general public mainstream discourse.
This is something I've thought about a lot and something I've spoken about a lot. There's too much.
What the hell is a second gentleman? Doug Emhoff condemns toxic... Okay. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic femininity. Masculinity and femininity in and of themselves are not toxic. It is the people within them that are toxic. There are toxic people. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's no such thing as toxic femininity. There's just toxic men and women. I don't understand why people have such a difficult time getting that through their thick fucking dumbass skull.
Much of toxicity, masculine toxicity out there.
Even the term white fragility can really set a lot of people off and saying, what do you mean I'm fragile? This is offensive and
it's not offensive, it's just categorically stupid.
And so it's almost ironic.
I would go so far as to say it's actually kind of racist.
That the term is kind of self-evocative in that way.
White people are racist, and not because they are evil, but because they were raised in racist systems, rewarded
by racism and defended by systems built on it. You are not the exception just because you are nice. You are the product. And when the system gets...
I'll say this. Every race has racists. White, black, brown, red, yellow. Hell, you could be blue for all I care. Every race in existence has racists within them. And yes, you can be racist towards white people. You can be racist towards any color. That's how this logically works.
It's challenged. Fragility explodes.
Here's a test for white fragility. I came across some questions for white fragility that I would like to share with you all. White fragility is a hindrance to open and honest racial conversations.
Social policing was also taking place. In 2015, for example, for Halloween, Yale University emailed its students asking them to be thoughtful about the cultural implications of their costumes. When a professor responded by questioning this, both her husband was threatened by students and
Halloween costume controversy. Is there no room anymore for a child or young person to be a little bit obnoxious? They're kids. Kids are obnoxious. A little bit inappropriate or provocative or, yes, offensive. American universities were once a safe space.
she was borderline asked to resign. And it wasn't long before this was happening every Halloween, with people writing entire instruction manuals on how to properly dress to avoid cultural appropriation or causing offense.
Joe Henry of the League of United Latin American Citizens has some examples of what not to do.
When you have costumes of people who appear to be Latino wearing sombreros, people who are dressed up to look as if they're African Americans, but they're not. That is offensive.
No, it's not. There was somebody who he dressed up as somebody who was from a mariachi band, or he had a sombrero and a poncho, and I think he had a mustache as well. He went to regular everyday folk, on the street, and he asked all of them, "Is this offensive?" And they all said yes. Then he went to actual Spaniards or Mexicans, and he asked all of them, "Is this offensive to you?" All of them said no. Some of them even said that looks pretty good. You can dress up as any culture. Go to that actual culture and ask them if this is offensive. I guarantee you about 9 out of 10 times, if not maybe 100% of the time, they'll say no. It looks pretty good. The only people who seem to find it offensive are dumbass people from here in America.
My culture is not a costume.
Basically, these dumbasses.
Bucknell University even started a campaign called My Culture Is Not Your Costume to raise awareness.
Bucknell University's Division of Equity and Inclusive Excellence is leading a campaign called My Culture Is Not a Costume to raise awareness of the problematic nature of certain Halloween costumes. While we recognize that most people do not choose their costumes with the intent to offend, appropriative costumes can still perpetuate harmful stereotypes about marginalized communities. Jesus Christ. There is nothing wrong with you dressing up as a stereotype or something from a different culture. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you can dress up as somebody from a mariachi band. You could dress up as, a Viking. I would say somebody from Africa, but I don't really know what a lot of their culture is actually called. You can dress up as like a samurai, ninja, a monk, all these different cultures. You can dress up as any of them. There's nothing wrong with it.
Of the problematic nature of certain Halloween costumes.
The idea of cultural appropriation at this point was very alive.
Cultural appropriation when someone takes elements from a culture not their own and remakes and reduces it into a meaningless. No. Let. Let me see the actual definition. It's just the costume isn't being offensive or anything. There's
Alive and well, with everything being policed, from hairstyles to dress styles to even music.
See, like, let's go back to not him.
Hairstyles.
It's like people like this. They do this as an art form because they like the look. They're not appropriating or making fun of or doing anything like that. They're doing this. A lot of people do this because they genuinely like the culture. They like the look. It's a cultural appreciation,
To dress
if
styles,
anything.
to even music people were or were not allowed to produce.
And in this whole time, this whole 11 years that I've had my hair locked up, nobody said anything about me culturally appropriating. In 11 years, that's so sus. Why didn't anybody tell me anything? I'm so glad for TikTok because you're saying it like it is.
Oh, God. Don't take everything you see on the internet, at face value.
I mean, and I've done all my own research, but everywhere it's like, why white people can't have dreadlocks. And
White people can have dreadlocks. Anybody can have dreadlocks. It is not locked to one culture. If people look at the history of dreadlocks, pretty much every single culture across the entirety of the world for thousands of years has had locks. Like box braids, dreadlocks. Pretty much every culture across the entire world has had them. So you can't say like a certain race can't have it because they don't understand the culture behind it or whatever. No, every race has had dreadlocks. Every race has had braids. Every race has had every single fucking hairstyle there is.
I was like, I'm not white. I mean, I'm part white, but maybe that's why people haven't said anything because they're like, she looks a little culturally ambiguous. I'm just gonna leave it.
Like, what's an acceptable number of braids we can wear in our hair without it being cultural appropriate?
One. Like this one. I think that's acceptable.
Whenever I see these...
The historical ignorance is astounding in today's youth. Even in my generation, it's fucking stupid. It's like, go back in history, people, and actually learn. Maybe you'll understand. But even probably then they won't.
Kinds of videos, I always think, well, I'm gonna braid my hair even harder now. There's also something uniquely stupid and arrogant and entitled about claiming an entire hairstyle that is present and has been present in cultures around the planet forever, basically. I mean, as long as we're talking about cultural appropriation, I had no idea that women who were, not Caucasian could have blonde, straight hair. That's crazy. How did you grow that yourself? By 2016, NFL player Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for the national anthem to protest racial inequality. By 2018, Nike had partnered with him with the performative slogan, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything," appearing on images with his face. Soon, other sports people followed suit, and many of them took a knee. Okay, alright guys. Eventually, the involvement of politics in sports led to teams like the Indians and the Washington Redskins changing their names to avoid being racially insensitive to Native Americans. But 2020 onwards is where things went totally haywire, and honestly, for these movements and ideologies, I think it signaled the beginning of the end. Probably a combination of being locked inside one's own house, becoming fearful of sneezing, too much time alone, too much time on the internet, and the rise of TikTok. A lot of people went a little bit cuckoo. After George Floyd's death, I'm having so much trouble saying that. George Floyd. After he died, people went absolutely mad, and quite frankly, that's putting it mildly.
Anyone saying Black Lives Matter too? 11. That's how many times I can't breathe, 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 I can't breathe. Aaron Gardner said I can't breathe before he was killed by police. So I guess those 3 words only mean stop if you're white.
I want to remind you all that politicians were crying over this guy's golden casket. I'm just, stop the world. I want to get off. This period of time gave us fiery but mostly peaceful reporting and wide-scale justification for civil unrest from politicians and
It seems like the funny thing was, I don't know where they got the idea that it was okay to do this. It's like this protest and stuff, for some reason, people thought it was okay, like during these riots, it was okay to loot and steal. It's like somehow that gave them a green light to do so without any consequence, which I thought it's just fucking stupid. How is defeating evil with more evil going to solve anything? It's like throwing a firebomb on a burning house thinking that it'll put out the fire. It's just more of the same thing, and it's going to make it burn quicker. And it's going to be more fire. It's just, ugh.
Are the talking heads. June 2020 gave us Blackout Tuesday, when people posted black squares on Instagram to show
I thought that was so dumb.
It also gave us a bunch of these videos of mainly white girls painting black fists on their face.
I wonder if they realize what that fist is from.
Because, okay. University campuses were definitely still in meltdown mode, but, honestly, it seems like they never really take a break from that. Trigger warnings, which were already extremely common in academia, became ubiquitous in 2020 across social media, classrooms, and workplaces. Professors began prefacing their lectures with warnings for topics like racism or violence. We even had news outlets giving us lists of problematic movies that need warning labels, like Forrest Gump and Indiana Jones.
Forrest Gump needs a warning label? Really?
And I am not joking. Forrest Gump is a big no-no because it has AIDS in it.
I'm sick.
What, do you have a cough due to cold?
The Indiana Jones one is because it doesn't accurately depict Hindus and Indians. My god, these people are so soft! I feel really bad that Dirty Harry and Forrest Gump are on this list, but not movies like Tropic Thunder. They just don't make films like that anymore.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Honestly, the softness and...
I think we need more movies like Tropic Thunder. Movies that are willing to offend people, because they need to fucking toughen up, I swear to God. People are so fucking fragile now. Like, a singular word can make them cry.
The squishiness and the desire to be offended by everything is part of what makes wokeness so incredibly exhausting. It's always about managing one's feelings and validating people's individual truths and ignoring universally accepted facts.
Yeah, here's my truth. This is my truth. There is no my truth. There is one truth and no variation of it.
Everything is about avoiding offense and ensuring that you think about the feelings of complete strangers, lest they feel wounded or sad. Unfortunately, I am not Willy Wonka.
And I don't have to sugarcoat reality. This insane overemphasis on feelings was and is to the extent that universities like the University of Utah had cry closets for students overwhelmed by stress, and safe spaces expanded to protect against ideological discomfort. This even applied to
A cry closet. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay.
free speech zones on campus where one could go to actually have, free speech. Because I guess the rest of the campus, they weren't allowed. Companies rolled out diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives en masse with trainings like Coca-Cola's 2020.
To be less white is to be less oppressive, less arrogant, less certain, less defensive, less ignorant, more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy. It's like these people believe that anyone who's white is the absolute devil of the entire world. It's like they believe that we caused every single bad thing to happen that has ever happened in the history of humanity.
One Be Less White session with some company.
It's like you do realize the evil things of humanity is not just caused by white people. Hell, people in Africa have done just as worse. People in Asia have done just as worse. Go anywhere in the world and you'll find a history that has done just as worse, if not worse.
Companies using the book White Fragility, like Coca-Cola did, as a teaching reference. I think it's worth saying that the anti-white rhetoric that has grown and metastasized over the years is honestly pretty staggering, and if I think about it too much, it's quite distressing to consider that it's made its way into basically every area of cultural and social life, like academia and politics and entertainment and what have you. And it's all done under the guise of equity and inclusion and righting age-old historical wrongs. My Irish ancestors were slaves. I would like some reparations too, please.
In honor of this, white people, stitch this. How many white people?
I make it my personal business to have complex conversations about race with any and all white people that I encounter. Period.
Somewhere along this road too,
That woman lives a very sad and depressing life.
especially with TikTok becoming extremely popular, we've seen the rise of self-diagnosed mental illness. The term neurodivergent went mainstream, which mostly referred to autism and ADHD, and it gained traction on platforms like TikTok where users self-diagnosed and demanded accommodation.
These type of videos people should really ignore because this is basically just what they believe and not backed by actual science.
For these conditions, like workplace flexibility, using their conditions as an excuse to shrug off adulthood and evade responsibility in so many cases. People started collecting labels like they were personality points, non-binary, disabled, neurodivergent, polyamorous, and became offended if others didn't properly adhere to them. And having this perpetually offended class meant that so many things were off limits, particularly humor and comedy, which have almost really kind of fully been replaced by political activism. Late night hosts and their performances became almost entirely about dunking on Donald Trump or criticizing the right wing. Comedians were cancelled for jokes and are cancelled for jokes, like my friend Isaac Butterfield, who is in Australia, who was brought before the Australian Human Rights Commission because he offended someone who wasn't even at his show. Television shows that were once fun and edgy have been sanitized. Actors and comedians have made massive attempts to distance themselves from their past works that would be seen as offensive by today's standards. Even YouTubers like Jenna Marbles have left the internet, kind of been forced off the internet.
God, I haven't heard or seen Jenna Marbles. I think since she played Eve in Adam vs. Eve for Epic Rap Battles of History. I think that was the last time I ever saw her.
Internet after being called out for previous jokes, and she did this because she just didn't want to hurt people. Suddenly, everything from 2020
When it comes to jokes and comedy, either everything is okay to make fun of or nothing is. There's no in between.
onwards, or maybe even earlier, had to have this social justice hyper-political edge. And the irony is, only certain types of opinions were allowed to be expressed, while also simultaneously, everyone has to have an opinion about everything and express that opinion because silence is violence? Do you guys also remember those articles that argued that speech is violence? Because I do. This gave rise to hyper-exhausting political...
Speech is not violence. People have to remember is if something is violent, then it is physical. Words cannot be violent because they cannot physically hurt you or cause any sort of physical harm.
Local advertising, with companies insisting on making a statement about...
God, these look so stupid. I feel... Even, what the fuck is with the hairstyles, too? I can't say anything about the bald dude because he's bald, so he can't really have hairstyle. Her hairstyle, I think, is okay. These two are fine. These two right here, what the fuck is with the hairstyle? And their outfits. Look, people in the fashion industry, if you're going to make outfits... just make outfits that make sense. These look so dumb.
Making a statement about everything and anything they could.
This person just needs to stop making fucking videos and get off the goddamn internet. This person is nothing but a fucking problem.
Transgenderism, obesity, gender identity, racism, identity politics. And baked into all of this is this insufferable lack of nuance. Everything to the progressive left seems to be black and white. There is no shade of gray. There is no room for nuance. Either it is or it isn't, and if it's not, you're Nazi. To these people, a statement in the affirmative means that the inverse is true. If I say that I like apples, that means that I have to hate pears. I don't actually like pears, and I do like apples, but watermelon's fine. And cantaloupe. And so this is basically where we are now with this wokeness explosion. Language has no meaning because every meaningful word has been watered down. Bigot, Nazi, xenophobe, homophobes.
Yeah, just words that are supposed to have gravitas and actual weight behind them have been used so much. They've been used to death to the point that they have lost all their meaning, all their weight, all their grandeur. They have lost everything to them. Because people seem to use them for every person that has any sort of disagreement with the way they, with their opinion, their belief, and anything. They just, if you disagree with them, oh, you're a Nazi. You disagree with the way they think, oh, you're transphobe, you're homophobic, you're racist, you're sexist, you're misogynistic. It's just, none of these words have any weight or meaning behind them anymore because they have been used to death, and people have forgotten what they actually mean. So it's just, I just, people are so fucking dumb.
Sexist, misogynist, etc. Terms applied so liberally to anyone who even slightly deviates from this extremely narrow social justice path. And every word you say now could be a potential crime. You can't say homeless, you have to say unhoused, otherwise you're being insensitive. You can't say illegal alien, you have to say undocumented migrant, otherwise you're being xenophobic. You can't say crazy or moron or any other words associated with people being stupid, because that might be ableist. And you're expected to remember all of these terms, all of the new terms, all of these pronouns, lest you offend somebody. And then there's all of this woke...
If anybody here is offended by what I say, I'll say this. Fuck you. Have a great day.
Cultural guilt tripping.
If you are tied to Western culture, or for these people worse yet, you are a white person, you're supposed to feel shame and embarrassed for your ancestors, because it's all about decolonizing and unlearning your heritage. Everything from hiking to gardening to breathing clean air has been labeled white supremacy.
I've even heard somebody say that math is racist. How is math racist? Math is a universal language.
We've even been told.
Is it possible to be racist to white people? Yes. It doesn't matter what the color of their skin. If you discriminate somebody based on the color of their skin, it is racist. Whether they are white, black, brown, red, yellow, blue, pink, whatever the fuck color they are. If you're discriminating them solely due to the color of their skin, it is racism.
That it's not possible to be racist towards white people.
If you are discriminating against them solely based on their culture or heritage or whatever, you are being, what was it called again? I had it in my head. I can't think of the fucking word. I'll think of it later.
They even invented this term, reverse racism.
Not a thing. There's no such thing as reverse racism. God, it was on the tip of my fucking tongue. It's gonna bug me. I can't remember the word. Prejudiced. If you are discriminating somebody based on their culture or something like that, you are being prejudiced. Like if you are discriminating somebody because they're Jewish, Mexican, whatever, you are being prejudiced. If you are discriminating somebody based on the color of their skin, you are being racist. There's no such thing as reverse racism or reverse sexism. It's just racism and sexism, prejudiced, or whatever else.
As if that's somehow its own thing. Western culture has been designated as a movement of colonization and evil and hatred. Meanwhile, every other culture is celebrated and respected. We're told that places like the United States, for example, is the worst country on the planet, and yet everybody seems to be desperate to get in. And
yeah, it's commonly known that we are one of the least racist countries in the world, actually. Go anywhere else, and you'll find that there are a lot of countries severely worse than we are. We are actually one of the countries that are more welcoming to different races and cultures. We are known as the melting pot of the world. We couldn't be known as that if we were completely racist and, prejudiced. There are many countries in Europe, Africa, Asia that are 1,000 times worse when it comes to race and culture than we are.
Nobody ever leaves. And these corrosive political viewpoints have made their way into everything. You want to watch a movie? No. It has to be diverse, representative, and inclusive. TV shows, ads, even video games now come with a side of social justice messaging. You can't enjoy anything without it turning into a lecture. From Netflix to cereal brands, politics is shoved into every corner of life, and it's hard to find a moment just to breathe. So it's really...
I just thought of something. If politics wants to be in every aspect of life, they should start being taxed. If they want to be in schools, we should tax them for being in schools. If they want to be in religion, we should tax them for being in religion. If they want to be in our everyday life, we should tax them for being in our everyday life. They want to be in every single aspect of human existence, they should pay for it. And if they can't, then they can't be in everyday life.
No wonder that everybody is exhausted. The funny thing about this is that I am sure that some of this started with the best of intentions, that these bleeding hearts and progressives did want to create
There is a saying, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Keep that in mind, people. The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Or the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
a better world, especially for people who they viewed as a minority or underrepresented. But really, as this thing has grown and changed and become what it is today, all they've really done is fractured and divided people, creating victim groups and driving the rest of us away. Any goodness that could have come about as a result of these ideologies has been squashed, and people who might ordinarily have been them have been driven away. So obviously there is so much more that I could potentially say about this, but we simply don't have the time. We would be here for 1,000 years. So let me leave you with a final little thought. I am of the belief that most people within the same culture who have the same values will be decent to one another when left to our own devices. I don't think, by and large, that we need all of these initiatives and political and social ideas to force us into submission. I think a lot of people deep down are good people, they are decent people, and they want to be decent people out in the world. But forcing us to be constantly aware of all of our differences in the long run probably doesn't make for a very cohesive society. So in the end, all of the progressive screaming, the political correctness, the wokeness, the language policing, the thought policing, all these initiatives have achieved is pushing people further away and ensuring that these very same people will never ever participate in these ideologies again or ever. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Fume using the link in the description. They've been a big supporter of this channel and I'm very fond of them, so if this is something that you struggle with, absolutely check them out. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this issue where you two are just fatigued and tired by all of this? You're so sick of all of the political, social, cultural messaging on so many issues? Are you on the other side of this, where you are glad that there is this wokeness that is permeating society? Do you think it's a good thing that we are so fixated on some of these issues? Do you think it's a good thing that we police language and people's behavior? Do you think it's a bad thing that all of this is censorship and social control? What do you think of the examples that I've given in this video? Did you forget some of these things happened? Do you think that the things that did happen were good and actually it, was a net positive for society? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you are not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel as well as leaving this video a like and a comment because I do read the majority of them and I like hearing your feedback. Of course, I hope you wonderful little chicken feet stay safe and well and make good choices.
It comes to my attention that if I remember correctly, there was a movie with Sylvester Stallone called Demolition Man where him and a convict were put into stasis. And they got into a future that any sort of bad language was punished and any sort of violence was punished and just everything was it was horrible. Sylvester Stallone said like so many horrible words and he kept getting violation after violation after violation. I hope we don't get to a point like that where any sort of bad word is punished. Because we as a society will die if that happens. I think within the next 5 to 10 years it's going to come to a point where it's gonna come to a boiling point where it's just going to explode and shit is going to be like anarchy for like political correctness and wokeness. It's all gonna come to a head and something is going to happen and it's all just gonna explode.
Because those are important. And I will see your wonderful little heads in the next video.
Well, yeah, wokeness needs to die and needs to be buried 30 feet under concrete. And just never be touched again. Because wokeness is just stupid. Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give a like and subscribe. I post videos 3 to 5 days a week here. I also post videos over on my other channel for gaming as well, so please make sure to give that a look-see, see if you enjoy that as well. I also stream anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week as well. Links to all my social medias will be on my YouTube page. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.